Coming up on the Empowered Woman podcast.
One experience does not create culture. It has to be repeated and embedded and lived over and over again. So for me, getting into these companies and showing them what these experiences can achieve in their companies and amongst their employees is key to creating that understanding.
Welcome to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice and business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode.
Burnout doesn't just exhaust you, it silently erodes your most important relationships. Aurora Method Coaching helps high-achieving women uncover the root beliefs driving their relationship conflicts and burnout and move from emotional reactivity to calm, clarity, and confidence. Ready to restore connection? Book your free consultation at meetwithtracy.coach.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes. So I've known you for a little bit already.
Yes.
It's been my pleasure to work with you as a client and to get to know your story. And now we get to share it with more people here on the show, which is fabulous. I love the work that you're doing. Why don't you kick us off and tell us who you are and what you do?
Okay. I'm Jenny Catalano. I'm the founder and CEO of Impact Events Collective. I worked in corporate leadership roles for over 20 years. And in that time, I became really passionate about company culture and the profound impact that it really has on the success of a business. And I started noticing that there was often a disconnect between the values that a company was promoting and talking about and what the employees inside that company were actually feeling and experiencing, and they didn't always align. And so in seeing that so often and seeing the negative impact of it, I wanted to bridge that gap. And so I decided to do that by creating Impact Events Collective, and we design community impact experiences that are intended to strengthen culture and create meaningful impact and connection between these company teams by bringing everybody together in a hands-on, integrated way where they're all working towards a shared purpose. And in doing this, the activations are serving local nonprofits in the community. So it's a win-win situation. And it really is an opportunity for those employees to experience those values that everyone talks about. And by repeatedly doing them, they can really the companies can embed those values into who they are and into their identity.
Oh, I love that so much. I love the combination of the win-win, right, for the company, for the employees, but also the partnership with the nonprofits. And I love backstories. I love to know the pivotal moment, what really, obviously you were observing this throughout the years, right, your career, but was there a specific moment where that really clicked for you that you would like to share with us? I would love to know.
Well, I had been tossing ideas around in my head about what Impact Events Collective would look like and how I would really bring these moments together. And I got the opportunity to actually do a trial run at the previous company I worked for, where I ran the conferences there. And I decided that we were going to take that opportunity to have the inaugural impact experience and let all the attendees there really put this into practice. And it wasn't a huge conference. It was about 200 people. I had about 150 people that were going to participate in this activation. And I had almost zero budget. And I finally convinced them to give me $2,500. And of course, then I go, how am I going to engage 150 people and serve a nonprofit with $2,500? And so I racked my brain to come up with ideas. And I also researched and met up with some nonprofits in the area. We were going to be in Denver. And I finally engaged with one that was a perfect recipient for what we were doing. And they came in and they spoke to the group, which to me closes the loop. That's so integral for the attendees to really hear what they're about and who they're serving and why it's important and why the work that we're going to do today matters. And so they spoke and no one knew what we were going to do. And what I had done was decided that I was going to bring in, do you know the toddler Cozy Coupe cars. They're like the little Flintstone cars that
Yep.
kids move with their
Yep.
feet.
My kids have those.
I had 50 of those, 51 of those shipped into the hotel where we were having the conference, and I lined up the boxes all along the wall, and I brought the group in. And I said, okay, everyone, you're going to break into groups of 3. And I've got a table here with screwdrivers and hammers, but there's intentionally not enough for all of you. So you have to work together to share them. And we're going to get down on the floor and we're going to assemble all 51 of these cars until we're done. And so this room full of business people dressed in business attire got down on the floor, pushed up their sleeves. Some were lying down on the floor. They dumped out the contents and the instructions. And I also told them all to start by putting one hand behind their back. So they really had to work together.
Wow.
So they all got down and we cranked up the music, and they all just, the energy in the room was absolutely amazing. Everybody was completely engaged. They kept going until this was all done. I walked around the room watching everybody work together. They were laughing. They were having a truly meaningful moment. And when it was all done, the nonprofit came back with their big U-Haul and took all the trucks away, or all the Cozy Coupes in the U-Haul, and they delivered them at a holiday store that they had where they all went to children in need. And it was so meaningful. I had people reaching out for months afterwards saying how that experience had moved them and how they wanted to incorporate it into their own businesses and engage their own employees in doing something like that. And just watching the whole experience unfold was what convinced me that there was something to this, and that there was really a way to build that meaningful connection while serving the community. You can do 2 great things at once. And it's just, like I said, it's a really great way to embed your company values and demonstrate, this in a really strong way, how you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that. That is such a great illustration, because even with me not being there, but just imagining how much purpose there is behind it and how much fun it is because there's a purpose behind it. That is so cool. So I have lots of questions. Let me see where we want to go, because I do want to talk about the nonprofits and how you reach out to them and what are some good ones, because maybe someone's listening to us and they are associated with a nonprofit, or they have founded one and they're like, I would love to know how we could potentially partner up. So that's one route. The other thing that's coming to mind is businesses that have a team, right? And they're thinking, I want to do an activation like that. What would that look like? But then there's another part of me that's thinking, besides doing these activations, because we all know sometimes we go to a conference, we get super excited, we come home, and then reality hits, right?
Yes.
So what are some of the practices that businesses and CEOs and even the employees can be engaged in throughout their careers and their lives, and not just be depending on that one moment? So take it wherever you want to go.
Well, I'll answer that one first. And I'd say one experience does not create culture. It has to be repeated and embedded and lived over and over again. So for me, getting into these companies and showing them what these experiences can achieve in their companies and amongst their employees is key to creating that understanding. And it's not just employees together, but it's leadership with employees. There's no hierarchy. Everybody's working together, getting to know each other in a different way than they do on an everyday basis. And when they do that when they do that repeatedly, like for instance, I do offer annual retainers where people can where we can create quarterly or monthly or whatever kind, however often they want to do this, so that it is something repeated, so that it's something employees recognize is part of this company. This is what we do and who we are. Because like I said, one experience alone does not make culture. It has to be something that's embedded and lived on a regular basis to really have that impact.
Okay. I love that. And I love that you said that leadership needs to be involved. It's not like, here you go, do this activity, people, be better.
Yes, exactly. It's all about just coming together, everybody.
Yeah, I love that. But also thinking about a continuation, much like anything in life. Doing it once does not create the habit. It does not.
Correct.
It doesn't have long-lasting results. So how do you specifically work with these companies then? Somebody's listening and they're interested. Do they schedule an initial consultation? Do you have to come in and kind of understand the situation of the company? How does that work?
Well, I have an initial call with them to kind of understand what they're looking to do. And the program is very flexible, both in terms of the nonprofit that the company wants to work with, because I do have a core group that I work with, but if there's a particular cause that they're interested or something personal to them, then I will go and vet a nonprofit that meets their needs. And we will find a nonprofit that really can benefit from us doing these engaged experiences rather than just writing a check or something like that. It needs to be something that's very engaging and hands-on. And I will find that resource for them. And then I'll just talk to them a little bit about what they're looking to accomplish. What's disconnected in your organization? What are you looking to achieve? What do you think is missing? And then maybe get an idea of what an activation might look like to them, because it's only limited by our creativity.
Right.
We can make it look like anything. We can build bikes. We can go into homes and refinish a whole room and, redecorate and bring in used furniture. We can do anything at all. It's not limited by anything other than what that nonprofit might specifically need from us at that moment. But it's comes down to what the company wants to accomplish. And then once we come up with that idea, I put together a proposal and draw out exactly what that looks like. And once they sign off, I start putting that together, and it takes the lift off of them. I do all the legwork, I put everything together, and they just have to show up.
Okay, I love that. Well, something that comes to mind to me, because I work with clients and at times people come to me and they have a really clear idea of what they want and what they need. And at times they do not.
Yes.
So when you're saying, I'm going to have a conversation with these companies and see what they're wanting, what if they're not really clear? Could you give us maybe some examples on what that could look like, that maybe they're thinking they don't need this, and now they're like, actually.
Well, that's the challenge, is a lot of companies think they have a strong culture. And if you ask them, they'll say, well, we have all these values that we talk about, and we do have a strong culture. And what they don't necessarily realize is if you actually spoke to the employees, they may not have the same answers. And so it's sometimes hard to sell something to somebody that they don't think they need.
Yeah.
But I think what I found is once they experience this type of engagement, it just brings things to another level, and they see that connection in a different way that they acknowledge that's not happening regularly. Okay. Yeah. So, and if they don't have an idea specifically what they want or what it looks like, that's okay too, because that's what I'm here for, is to help guide them on that. And I mean, we can serve an animal, like an animal foster situation where we build dog houses for the foster homes, and they go in and build dog toys to give to the foster families. And then the organization comes in and brings puppies for us to play with. So we're building, we're engaging, and we're having fun with puppies. I mean, it can look like that. It can, in a lot of times, depending on the nonprofit, you can engage specifically with the people the nonprofits are working for, where they maybe live in their facility. And we can have lunch with them. We can not only serve them lunch, but we can sit down at tables with them and actually talk to them and engage with them and hear their stories, which has a huge impact. Yeah. There are just so many ways to bring it to life, and people don't have to know what exactly they want. That's okay. I'm there to, give suggestions and help them, develop what sounds good to them.
That's good. I love that. And also food for thought for anyone listening that's thinking they have a great culture. It may be true, but maybe it's a good opportunity to ask the employees and their team how they feel, right? And then come and talk with you, Jenny. Let's talk about the nonprofits then, because you've mentioned a few. How do you vet them, like you said? And for anyone that's listening, that could be interested in connecting with you. Hey, let me ask you a question. Would you like to be my next guest on the Empowered Woman podcast? Do you have a story you'd like to share? Want more visibility for your business on a show ranked in the top 0.5% in the world? Well, then head on over to martasburg.com/podcast guest for more information.
I make sure they're legitimate. They're 501c3s. They're registered. They're doing all the right things. And I'll do some research. And I've got mostly what I have right now are local to Charlotte, which is where I'm at. But I have definitely started expanding my reach. I am not limiting myself to the Charlotte area. I will go anywhere in the country. And I've also, through Entreprenista, have connected with a lot of women who are connected to nonprofits and spoken to a bunch in other cities. A lot are very interested in partnering with me. For them, it's nothing but a win. I don't ask anything of them. Much like with the corporation, I take the lift off their plate. If they don't have staff, they're absolutely welcome to be engaged in the planning process if they want to, but if they don't have the bandwidth, that's okay. I'll do that. All I ask of them is that they come and speak to the group. And so I can research and vet any nonprofit. I've got a standard checklist of what I'm looking for. Some are a little more limited in what they can offer, where there's not as many hands-on engagements that we can do to help them. Some rely more on just donations, so that's a little bit trickier. But like I said, it's if you put your mind to it, we can generally come up with something that works.
Yeah.
So
I think that's such a
and I'm happy to talk to any nonprofits that might be interested in partnering with me.
Yeah. No, I think this is so great because I speak at times with a lot of people that are involved with nonprofits, and there's at times a challenge on visibility, on funding, and partnering up with corporations through what you're doing is such an amazing opportunity to get the word out and to get people to actually experience, because I think that's a big gap as well when you're donating to a nonprofit is where's my money going? What is being done?
Exactly. A lot of companies are engaged philanthropically, which is wonderful, but sometimes it involves them handing over a check, which the employees aren't even aware of.
No. Yeah.
Or other times, there are a lot of companies right now that offer their employees so many hours to go out and volunteer in the community, and they usually have nonprofit partners that they recommend, and the employees can go volunteer for any one of those nonprofits. The problem that I'm seeing as I talk to companies is that where it's left, the onus is on the employee to go out and do that on their own time, even though they get paid for it. And the participation rate is extraordinarily low, which is very sad to me. Yeah. So you're not only missing out on the opportunity to elevate your culture and engage your team, but you're not, that's just such a huge opportunity that you're missing by not bringing them in. And in doing so and making it a regular event, you're increasing the help that you're offering to these nonprofits. They're getting more and more visibility. They're getting more of what they need from the community. And it's just a win-win. And while I don't want to diminish at all that people offer these volunteer programs, I think it's amazing. And it's certainly better than anybody who's not engaged, philanthropically at all. And it's still a wonderful opportunity. But I think there's just that added powerful impact in doing it as a shared experience.
Absolutely. It definitely makes a difference. I love that. Well, from the entrepreneurial side, I always like to ask for, of my guests, because I know people listening may be just starting their business, or maybe they're going through a rough time. We all have challenges and bumps in the road. And it's interesting to hear from someone that's out there doing the thing, and especially coming from corporate, right? Making that decision. Yes. All right, I'm going to go off on my own. I'd love to hear about your experience, or if you have any advice for anyone that's in a similar position or just thinking about starting.
Well, I'm speaking from a very early position as an entrepreneur. I just launched this past January, and I spent my first months developing that core group of nonprofits. And then I started a few months ago with my outreach, and that has been the most challenging part. I'm not a salesperson at heart, and so that's a bit of a struggle, but also connecting with the right people to get through to the people that are the decision makers. And that's been trial and error, and finding out what works and what method of reaching out to them works. And I keep refining that. I've developed different LinkedIn strategies, and over the past few weeks have seemed to hit on something that's resonating a little bit more, and I'm getting a lot more traction. And so that's been incredible. And networking like crazy. I've just been meeting with anyone, whether they're a prospective client or a nonprofit partner, just anyone that's been there, that's been in this place where I'm at, and trying to develop a client base. And how do you go about that? And how do you determine the best path to the people that you need to get in front of? And even today, I had a meeting with someone that was super helpful and directed me maybe in a different way than I've been looking, and, not so much this direction, but try over here and you might have more luck. And the help that I've received just from other entrepreneurs, people that have been there, done that, has been tremendous. And just getting feedback from networking is the best thing I could possibly do. That also pushes me outside my comfort zone. And it's been great, though. I've met some of the most incredible people, and it's really expanding my reach and showing me I don't need to stay local to Charlotte. I can go anywhere. As there's so many opportunities to get this kind of activation out there. And have it help companies that I'm learning as I go, as they say, I'm building the plane as I fly it. And, but it's coming along. I feel every time I get discouraged and I think, oh, nothing's happening, and why isn't this working? Then something will give me a nudge that reminds me, nope, we're still moving forward. And I'll get a message, or I'll get someone inquiring about something, or a nonprofit will reach out. There's always something that encourages me to keep going. And I keep hearing too that, it's easy to walk away, but it's just when you think things, you're going to have to call it quits, that seems to be the time when, something turns the corner. Absolutely. So I'm just pushing along and really, really working hard, because I'm very passionate about this. And I both the culture side and serving the nonprofits. And it's something for the first time in my life that I'm doing something that's incredibly meaningful to me, and to be out serving the local community, doing something that I feel good about, that I love doing every day. Why would I want to quit doing that? I want to make it happen.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Thank you so much for sharing, and for the vulnerability too. And what you said in the beginning, trial and error, if that isn't the summary of the life of an entrepreneur, right? I mean, we just have to embrace it, which is not easy. But I love what you said about the glimmers, right? They are there if we're willing to, because sometimes we focus so much on, the income, which obviously that is important. But if you are also able to see the silver linings on, oh, I just had a great conversation with somebody. Yeah. Or, oh, I just, somebody sent me a message or whatever. Like, those are all stepping stones to something else, right? So I love that. That is so good. Well, before I have you share how people can connect with you and find you, I like asking, oh my gosh, my $1 million question. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Jenny, what is an empowered woman to you?
An empowered woman. Let me see if I can put this together in a way that means the most to me. An empowered woman is someone who has gotten past well, not completely past, but has learned to manage the discomfort and the imposter feeling, and has come to a place with enough courage and commitment and trust in herself to do something that matters for them, not always serving others, not always doing what someone else needs, but doing what they feel in their soul is needed for their own well-being. It's finding that space where you feel healed if it's a trauma situation, and taking that and using that to do good and do something to make your world better. And that we don't have to live in our past. We don't have to live by the things that we might have considered failures, but realize that those are all just stepping stones and learning points along the way that help us become who we truly want to be. And I think once you reach that point of learning who you are authentically, then you become empowered.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. How can people connect with you? Give us social media, website, all the things.
Yeah, I'm predominantly social media wise on LinkedIn under my name. I do have an Impact Events Collective page, but the action is all under my personal page, which is Jenny Catalano. I have an Instagram page for Impact Events Collective, and my website is impacteventscollective.com. So you can reach me on any of those sites.
I'll make sure and put that in the show notes. And something that I also wanted to highlight is anyone looking for guests or to further this mission, right? They should definitely reach out to you, and also to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm happy to speak. I've been working a lot on thought leadership related to company culture and how, different ways to look at it than the way people typically think about it. So I'm happy to speak if anyone is interested, and partner with nonprofits, or just talk about what I'm doing and how you might engage.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This was a pleasure.
Thank you, Marta. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends, or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.